Foucault, who said it was after a particularly heavy session of scholarship, when his eyes, he said, were streaming, and he just couldn't face yet another 18th century book about crime and punishment. All of a sudden, in the Collège de France, he read something. It was only 3 lines, and he thought he was the first person to have read it in 350 years. It was the account of a trial of a certain mendicant monk who lived with the poor people, most wretched, and was on trial for his life, accused of the capital offences of sodomy and homosexuality. He was condemned to the amende horrible. And there was something, Foucault said, in those few lines that was so moving. He decided that he would dedicate the rest of his life to trying to give a voice, to trying to give a history to those who have forgotten. Now, I don't pretend to have the humanity of Foucault, but he's onto something. You see, there's something about philosophy. When you're reading and reading and reading, and you can't cope with it anymore, all of a sudden, you read something, and it changes everything. I'll give you an example. Some of you all know that the second great love of my life is Spinoza. And his great book is Ethics. He only really writes one. And if you read Ethics, the first book proves the existence of God. The final book, the 5th book, of eternal life without immortality. The 3rd book is a towering attempt to understand emotions, straight out of Dickens. The 2nd book is the best study of the mind-body that you could come across. But for me, it was always the 4th book. The 4th book is the book that most of you think of when you're thinking about philosophy. It's dry, it's boring, you sit there going, why? Why do you write it? What's going on? Now, I was reading it for the 8th time years ago. I was really rather young. And suddenly I read the passage. Note to Proposition 36. A man of reason fights the joyous war, for all his enemies become his friends, and the more they mistrusted him, the more they loathed him, the more they will love him. Now, the thing about Spinoza, he lives on the bum end of the 17th century, and he lives in the United Provinces, in Holland. And he is an exile of an exiled people, thrown out of the Jewish community. He is dabbling in Netherlands politics. It's famously bloody. He knows about war. He knows about suffering. He's not an idealist. So what on earth does he mean? Now, very quickly, you know that he's a bit cynical about reason. He'll say no man can truly follow reason, because we're finite. There is always a bigger fish able to punch their identity into us, able to make us think this, to drive us that, to inspire passive emotion. And yet, he says, come what may, as I am alive, I can reason, I can think, and by reason, you have to understand, he doesn't mean what you're thinking. He doesn't mean anything intellectual. He means something chemical. Reason is that strange bond that hooks us one to another, so we can forecast events, so that we become like a flock of starlings, able to fly across the sky, able to change who we are. And a man of reason is someone who understands that pain is punched into me by something without, who meets hatred then with understanding, who knows that if only he can reach to his friend, to those who hate him, understand their pain, he might change their relationship. He might then change passive affects to actions. Actions that can spread like contagions through populations. Actions that might start with simply walking, becoming a blacksmith or a political agitator. But actions that if you learn how to do it, if you do it right, have a power of their own. You could be imprisoned for 27 years on an island of the Atlantic and still come back and lead a revolution, if only you do it right. Thank you. Thank you. First of all, very good announcement. Totally clashing with the next taking the mics, and I'm actually doing, over the last few months, I've been doing different sequences philosophers, so philosophers going on the journey, and I'm actually doing this at the Bike Shed Theatre. It's a full philosophy show. So if you've liked what I've been doing over the last, since September, and you're not coming to Taking the Mic, come along. This, though, is a tribute piece. But I'm not going to tell you who is a tribute piece till the end, because you'll get that. And I'm not really starting with a tribute, because it's Christmas. It's going to go around in a circle, I hope. It was Foucault who said it. It was after a particularly heavy session of scholarship, when his eyes, he said, were streaming, and he just couldn't face yet another 18th century book about crime and punishment. All of a sudden, in the Collège de France, he read something. It was only 3 lines, and he thought he was the first person to have read it in 350 years. It was the account of a trial of a certain mendicant monk who lived with the poor people, most wretched, and was on trial for his life, accused of the capital offences of sodomy and homosexuality. He was condemned to the amende horrible. And there was something, Foucault said, in those few lines that was so moving. He decided that he would dedicate the rest of his life to trying to give a voice, to trying to give a history to those who are forgotten. Now, I don't pretend to have the humanity of Foucault, but he's onto something. But you see, there's something about philosophy. When you're reading and reading and reading, and you can't cope with it anymore, all of a sudden, you read something, and it changes everything. I'll give you an example. Some of you will know that the second great love of my life is Spinoza. And his great book is Ethics. He only really writes one. And if you read Ethics, the first book proves the existence of God. The final book, the 5th book, of eternal life without immortality. The 3rd book is a towering attempt to understand emotions, straight out of Dickens. The 2nd book is the best study of the mind-body that you could come across. But for me, it was always the 4th book. The 4th book is the book that most of you think of when you're thinking about philosophy. It's dry, it's boring, you sit there going, why? Why do you write it? What's going on? Now, I was reading it for the 8th time years ago. I was really rather young, and suddenly I read the passage. Note to proposition 36. A man of reason fights the joyous war, for all his enemies become his friends. And the more they mistrusted him, the more they loathed him, the more they will love him. Now, the thing about Spinoza, he lives on the bum end of the 17th century, and he lives in the United Provinces, in Holland. And he is an exile of an exiled people, thrown out of the Jewish community. He is dabbling in Netherlands politics. It's famously bloody. He knows about war. He knows about suffering. He's not an idealist. So what on earth does he mean? Now, very quickly, you know that he's a bit cynical about reason. He'll say no man can truly follow reason, because we're finite. There is always a bigger fish able to punch their identity into us, able to make us think this, to drive us that, to inspire passive emotion. And yet, he says, come what may, as I am alive, I can reason, I can think, and by reason, you have to understand, he doesn't mean what you're thinking. He doesn't mean anything intellectual. He means something chemical. Reason is that strange bond that hooks us one to another, so we can forecast events, so that we become like a flock of starlings, able to fly across the sky, able to change who we are. And a man of reason is someone who understands that pain is punched into me by something without, who meets hatred then with understanding, who knows that if only he can reach to his friend, to those who hate him, understand their pain, he might change their relationship. He might then change passive affects to actions. Actions that can spread like contagions through populations. Actions that might start with simply walking, becoming a blacksmith or a political agitator. But actions that if you learn how to do it, if you do it right, have a power of their own. You could be imprisoned for 27 years on an island of the Atlantic and still come back and lead a revolution If only you do it right.